They believed they got away with it. They left you without saying sorry again, or ever looking back. They seemed to be doing well for a while you sat there in silence trying to put the pieces back together. They smiled and laughed a little louder in public and took pride in how mean they were. It made you wonder how they did what they did and slept at night. But heaven already knew this. They don't. Not really. Not any longer. When someone hurts someone sent by God on purpose, when they take your love, your loyalty, and your spirit and crush them, the judgment doesn't come from you, it comes from above. There is no doubt about it. God will not let them rest. Their days are restless, their nights are haunted, and they have lost their peace. Their thoughts have become battlefields, where every lie they told, every trick they pulled, and every tear they caused is now hunting them down with divine accuracy. They thought your silence meant you were weak, but it was really your psychic defenses going off, because God saw everything. He saw you say prayers for them. He saw that you were trying to forgive. They told you lies and made you feel crazy, while you begged for clarity. Now it's not your voice that they hear. That scream in the middle of the night is their own guilt. What they buried is now coming back to the surface. They can't avoid what they used to ignore, and God is making them do what they did to you over and over again, every day and every night. You don't have to wonder if justice will ever come again. It has already. Being guilty that won't go away is a sign of it. Everyone has to deal with the pain of remembering you every day. They thought that your departure would make them feel better and that their life would return to normal. They thought that without you, they could take back control, change the story, and act like they were never betrayed. They didn't understand, though, that when you hurt someone whose love came from a pure place, when you hurt on purpose a person that God put in your life, you don't get away without being hurt. You'll always remember bad things. This is more than just sadness. This is the mental result. The thought of you every day is their punishment, a sentence from heaven, not because of what you did, but because God is holy and won't let his children's pain go unpunished. God watched you cry when no one else did, and heard when you prayed in a confused and heartbroken whisper. Now they are replaying every word they said, every lie they told, and every look of indifference they gave you while you begged them to be honest. They love you too much to just miss you. What they carry now is more important than memories. It's a clash between guilt and punishment, between memory and God's justice. They can't get away from you. You're not just a thought they choose to think about again. People who hurt you can see yourself in other people's eyes, hear your voice in quiet places, and feel your spirit when they lie awake in the early hours, drowning under the weight of what they did. Each morning they feel empty and have a knot in their chest that they can't explain. They try to keep themselves busy with routines, job, and relationships that don't matter, but the pain won't go away. There is no way to silence the sound of the one person they betrayed, who never fought back, never sought revenge, never did bad things in return for bad things, but just left with honor. That's what hurts them the most. They know deep down that you were never the one who failed. When things got tough, you were the one who stayed true and prayed. You stayed strong longer than anyone should have. Still, they threw you away like ordinary dust, and now God has made sure that picture lives on in them, like a fire that never goes out, a fire that burns through the quiet, the noise, and all the attempts to dull the soul with short-term pleasure. Every time they open a drawer, they see something that makes them think of you. They can't look through their phone without seeing your smile. Every time you hear a prayer song, it makes you think of how your faith stood strong even when theirs did not. Even though they never said it, being with you made them more guilty than being away from you ever could, because you had grace, were pure, were consistent, and told the truth. Now they're stuck, not just in memory but also in faith-based responsibility, because you were more than just a person to them. You were God's last warning before everything fell apart. They didn't care about it. People now live with the noise, but it's not because of you, it's because God is. He's also using your picture to do something that lectures, advice, and punishments could never do, bring the truth to light that they've buried. The answer to your question, do they even think of me, is yes, obsessively, uncontrollably, and without fail, but not the way they did when they could get into your heart. What they thought was brief turned out to be holy, and now they remember you with pain, and now losing it is something they have to deal with every day. People who feel guilty can't sleep, and it won't let them. There is a kind of pain that can't be seen on X-rays or blood tests, but it eats away at a person from the inside out. Guilt. Not just any shame, but the kind that gets into your soul like an intruder and won't leave. Right now, the person who hurt you is going through the same thing. People see someone who has moved on, but what they don't see is that behind every smile is a soul that is falling apart. Every talk they have is piled on top of not being able to sleep the night before. They are fighting a mental battle in the privacy of their own bed. With every yawn they try to hide. You can hide from the results, but you can't hide from God. No matter what position they sleep in, the nights are long and hard. It doesn't feel right. They are moving back and forth, their eyes wide open in the dark and their ears tuned to every sound. It's not making their heart beat faster. They start to breathe less deeply. It feels like invisible hands are pushing down on their chest. Their souls are being called to a courthouse that only God can open, not because they are stressed or sick. That's why they can't sleep. Everything starts every night at 2:17 a.m. They don't have any lawyers, a defense, music, drink, sex, or anything else that could take their attention away from the voice they hear, the sound that speaks truth. It's not their voice or yours. Something more holy, deeper, and sterner says, "You knew what you were doing." It's something they've worked so hard not to hear. You could see how much it hurt in their eyes. You picked to be cold. You used love as a weapon, and kindness as a way to get what you wanted. You wronged not only a person, but also a soul that I sent you. Once, the pillow they slept on smelled like you. It looks like sadness now. The bedroom where they used to feel strong is now a place of spiritual judgment. Even though they are tired, their mind is sharp, hyper-aware, because shame never goes to sleep. And when God is behind the shame, it turns into a fire that refines them, not to burn them to ash, but to burn away the lies they used to hide behind. They're not only losing sleep, but also charge. And they always thought they had power, which is all they really had. They'll try to act like nothing is wrong today. They'll get more coffee, put on a new face, and maybe even joke around at work. But their tiredness is now clear under their eyes, in their stance, and in the sudden anger that seems to appear out of nowhere. People around them might not get it, but you do because you've been there and felt their pain. It has now been given back to its original owner. It weighs a lot. They lose their purpose, not able to sit still, can't enjoy the things they used to love. When your soul is bad, nothing tastes good. And holy shame that comes from God is like spiritual acid. It doesn't just bring it up again, it hurts. It breaks down every false belief they had about themselves and forces them to see the truth. The person they hurt wasn't worthless, and you were one of God's most merciful acts in their life. They threw it away. They can't tell anyone that. But if you said that, you would have to face not only what they did to you, but also who they are now that you're gone. Instead, they suffer alone. The public thought they were okay, but you know the truth, and God knows the truth even more. He saw you cry in quiet the whole time. He kept track of every tear and silent prayer and counted them all. Now he has sent the God of collections, not to you but to them. It knocks around the same time every night when there is silence in the room and only memories, shame and the lack of your voice can be heard. One voice that prayed for them, fought for them, and showed them kindness when they didn't deserve it. You no longer have to wonder if they sleep soundly if you have ever wondered. They don't. They won't either. Not until they agree with the truth. Not until they turn around. Not until they stop blaming and start to fall apart. Because God won't let them rest while they sit on a throne that was made from someone else's pain. And if you feel this word in your heart, if you felt their pain from afar but weren't sure if it was real, let this be your proof. It is real. It's taking place. And you're not making it up. In the still parts of the night, cosmic justice is being done. God doesn't just forget about them. He even turns their memories into weapons, making them a live sentence. The times they tried to forget are now the ones they have to live through again in full color. There is no stop button or escape button for the tears they caused to play back over and over again. They remember how they turned their backs, rolled their eyes, or acted they didn't hear you when you cried out to them, "Why are you doing this to me?" You were trying to hold on to everything, faith, family, and the future, but they broke it all apart like it wasn't important. They remember the look in your eyes. Now that look comes back to them in strange places, like a stranger's face in traffic, a passing comment in the grocery store, or the sound of a praise song they heard while you were worshiping with them. For them, memories have turned into ghosts, not because you cursed them, but because God is meeting them face to face. Every flash of you is evidence in court. Every memory serves as proof, and the judge isn't moved by their reasons. What moves him are your prayers, the ones you said in your head when you were too weak to fight. They thought you were weak when you didn't answer, and instead chose peace over fighting back. But heaven stood up in that quiet. When God stands, everything obeys him, even memories. They've done so much that every room feels crowded now. Every quiet moment is broken by the things they have refused to change. Ladies and gentlemen, they can still act like they're not guilty, but they can't lie to God. He is also no longer quiet. When they read a verse, it makes them feel like it's written just for them. They feel open every time they walk into a church. When they hear about grace, they can't help but think of your name. And what's worst is that they know this judgment isn't from you, but from Him. God doesn't always use lightning bolts to punish people who have gone astray. He reminds Himself. He will keep reminding them until their soul is broken and ready to face the truth. That's kindness. It might not look like it, but it really is. God could leave them to their crazy thoughts. They could choose to give up and be empty. But instead, He surrounds them with you, which is what they were trying to get away from. Not to hurt them, but to give them one last chance to see the truth as it really is, unaltered, raw, and clear. But the memories get stronger the longer they fight. They can't get rid of those memories by being busy, having relationships, drinking, or pretending to be pious. God has locked those memories in place. In God's hands, remembering is not longing. It's proof from God, and He calls them to the stand every single day. That's why they're antsy. This is why they're grumpy. That's why they can't get peace, no matter how hard they try, because there can't be peace without regret. And peace isn't just taken away when you hurt someone God sent. Every good thing they used to have now seems empty. Every victory gets old, because nothing tastes good when it's on top of sin that hasn't been cleaned up. From the outside, they may look calm, but on the inside, they are being broken down, because God is showing them what they wouldn't see before, who they became without you and who you were to them. It made them tough, dumb, and cocky. Now God is making them see single frames of what it looks like to hurt a soul that loved righteously. The worst part, they remember more than just who you were. They remember who they were with you and who they've become since you left. The contrast is very bad. They had peace, prayer, safety, and a reason to live with you. Without you, they have sorrow, noise, and a loss of spirituality. Because this is what holy memory does. It shows not only what happened but also what it all meant. In other words, it ties together the wound and the result. And God is writing those lines on their hearts so they stick. You should know that they are being judged while they smile in public and look at their phones. The judge is not a person, not you, but the most fair and holy judge of all, and the facts can't be argued with. You're getting better, but you can still feel their energy. You're getting better, but their energy is still with you. You're not in the same room anymore. You don't look at your phone to see what their name is. Don't wait for people to say sorry. They won't. However, some mornings you feel the weight of a sadness that isn't your own. Sometimes, out of the blue, your spirit changes, and you feel worry, sadness, restlessness, or even guilt. But none of it fits with the way things are now. You're praying, getting better, and standing tall in God's kindness. Why does it still feel like their shadow is following you? This is one of the most spiritual and magical forces that not many people really understand. When you were with someone whose love was conditional, manipulative, and self-serving, The link wasn't just in your mind or body, it came about in the soul. And a soul tie doesn't just break when the relationship stops, not even if it's a bad one. It falls apart. It comes off in layers. Over time it falls off like skin. It's possible for your spirit to still feel their energy even after your mind has let go. They are still attached to you mentally, emotionally, and energetically, not because you want them or miss them. The narcissist can't say your name out loud. They might not call again. Still, that doesn't mean they've given up. In fact, they often start to want your peace, prayer, or sympathy the most after you leave, when they can't get it either. You were a light in their lives and showed them what it means to be pure, honest, and determined. They didn't want to say it, but being close to you made their monsters quiet down. You were their defense, their support, and their safe place. Not because they deserve it, but because that's how your heart is wired. And now that you're gone, their soul is out in the open. The silence they used to expect is now too much to bear. They said they didn't need peace, but now they can't get it. What do they do then? In the spirit, they reach out to you, not because they were sorry or humble, but because they were desperate. They want the love of your spirit without having to answer to you. They want to feel your energy, but don't want to face the truth. In this way, they touch your soul from afar. You feel it sometimes too, but you don't know it. It hits like a wave of sadness during prayer, a sad heart when the day is going well, a name that comes to mind out of the blue, a dream that comes back to you out of the blue. You might think you're going backwards in your healing if you aren't religiously aware. You're not, though. This is not going backwards. It is acknowledgement. Your spirit is picking up on a link that wants to get back together. But here's the holy truth. You are no longer in their circle. You are no longer the spiritual air they breathe. You are not where they can dump their feelings. Also, you don't have to take what God took off your shoulders. It took a long time for you to heal from what they did and how deeply they connected with your inner world. Now, they can feel every step you take toward freedom. They can feel the cutting. They know how far away it is. As they are lost, their spirit reaches out to see if it can still reach you, but God has put His hand between you and them. He has now put His safety around your soul. That pull you feel, that pain in your heart, is the last bit of a link that's dying. It sounds like soul cords come loose. It's your spirit being raised up in the presence of God instead of in the chaos of someone else's rule. You might still feel them, but you don't have to carry them around with you. Their unease may still be there, but it's no longer yours. This is not dwelling. It is discerning. You are observing, not taking part. Of course, that's what healing really looks like. Getting your soul free from their control, not just separating yourself from how they act. The last step to freedom is being able to see their energy and refusing to take it in. God is showing you how to stay calm even when someone else is going crazy. He is teaching you how to be sensitive without being tied down. As you learn this holy art, you will be spiritually aware without being spiritually worn out, because what used to hold you back now just makes you think of where you are not. What used to keep you awake at night makes you more entitled to rest now. Do not beat your heart. You're not falling backwards because of the shaking you're feeling. These things are proof that you are in the middle of spiritual separation. Heaven is when you finish what you began. You are being healed in more ways than one. Your soul is being cleansed of ties that were never meant to last. If you still feel their energy, think about how far you've come and how strongly God is guarding what is left.